Where's Johnny? I want to pull you up just as we start this one session.
Yeah, baby.
There, there we go. There we go. Like, let's not get into the specifics of what, how, who, or when. But I mean, when you started the program, I remember like you were still in your day job, and
That's right.
you were in that category. I would safely say we're allowed to say it. It's not disrespectful to say it. You wanted to burn the building down and never go back, right?
I still do.
You were, so some people are happy with their day job and they like to do music on the side. Other people would like to replace their job and do it with music. And other people are just want to get out of there so quick. And I think you were in the last one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay. So like all I really want to talk about is, I mean, you've got there on your own steam. You've put together resources from your coaching side, your music side, your label side, the radio. You've put it all together and kind of made it work. We've talked about that before. What I want to talk about more is the the feeling you get on a day-to-day basis. I've always had it. I've never had a job, so I kind of take it for granted. Where you get up, you're going to work on your own projects all day. They're all music based. Nobody's telling you what to do, and you feel like you're working on your own journey. You feel like you're progressing in your own industry and doing what you want to do. Talk to us a little bit about how that has felt.
Yeah, it was amazing, and I'm incredibly grateful for the fact that I can do this. And like I always wanted to do music. It's an incredibly competitive industry, and a lot of people are doing it the wrong way, perhaps. But
Yeah.
it, I would just be sat in my day job, just like fucking hating life, being like, I wish I could do music. And it's all the hard work I put in. There was like a point during the pandemic where I was like, I'm gonna go fucking all in on this, and like I would work as soon as I got home from the office on music. I would then also not actually really do any work at my day job because I focus on music. To the point where, like now I can just basically do whatever I want. I have a much more free life. I can take evenings off if I want to. I don't have some dickhead micromanagement boss telling me what to do, or like, oh, can you reformat this document? And be like, go fuck yourself. I'll format shit however I want. Um, so
Um,
it's great. And it's kind of like I guess like a lot of people get caught in the rat race and think like, oh, well, if I had more money, I could do this, blah, blah, that, and the other. But it's just like, well, you could just be the employer yourself
yeah.
and you don't have to answer to anybody, which is great. There's also no HR department to report me to for all my ridiculous jokes that I make. I am the HR department now, so good luck trying to fire me. Uncancelable. Yeah, it's great. Like,
But
it's
I suppose the real question I want to know, enjoyment level of life previously, right? Like, but it's not all. First off, I'm surprised you get evenings off. You mentioned evenings off there. That wasn't on my notepad. So whatever you're doing, I need to learn from you. Uh, like what I want to know, enjoyment level, because it's tough. Going full time is still tough. Now you've got to fucking make your own income every month. You've got to hustle, and it's not all. Hey, this is roses. But enjoyment level of life, how much did it increase when you went full time?
oh, Matt, like tenfold, I would
Okay.
say.
Okay.
It was scary at the start, that's for sure.
Yep.
And like there was uncertainty, but like now where I'm in a bit more comfortable position, like it can't really get much better, I would say,
Oh,
because you can do what you want, and yeah, like
beautiful.
I I don't have to do shit that I hate anymore, which is great. Don't get me wrong, there are still things that I have to do which are fucking annoying, but
Gotta
like
live
it's
life.
better than hating 100% of what I did.
Love it. Thanks for that, Johnny. Appreciate it. And so, look, there's a couple of you here that are full time in music. Johnny's not just the only one, but he's just the first one that pops to my mind because I remember when he was on the calls and he was going through just hating his job and that changeover of going full time and making that work. So for any of you that have done it, you'll already be living it. I want you to think about, if you're already full time, how can we level it up over the next 6 months? How can we make it work better? If you're not already full time and you would like to, I want you to look at today seriously as we go through this plan and look at this. Today is more about figuring out, is it possible, and if it's possible, what do we need to do? Well, how do we make it happen? Okay. And then we can go off and try and make it happen over the next 6 months. But let's hop into the good stuff. Okay. Okay, how to go full time in music. Let's go on. Now, the number one biggest thing, it's by far when I think of this topic, it's the thing that I find myself saying to artists the most. They fall into the gig trap. When we think of going full time, the barometer that most people use is when I get so busy with my bookings that I can leave my day job, then I'll do it. When my touring gets so busy that it replaces my income, then I'll do it. If I start to, a release pops off and I start to get booked and maybe my booking fee, becomes decent, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, then I'll be able to make nice wedge and I'll go full time. And it always revolves around that bookings. Can you let me know into the chat if that's how you think, if you've been thinking like that? When we think of full time, we kind of go, okay, what are the gigs like? Let me know into the chat, me or not me. Okay, we got some me's, we got a yep, we got a me. Not me at the minute. Okay. Used to be me. I'm just holding on, letting everybody get their little. I do, even though I know better. Yeah. Okay. For everybody else not typing, I'm watching you. I'm watching you. You're on a call. Wakey, wakey. Let's get everybody stuck in here. Okay. So here's what I want to do. I want to run through this for you. There's the gig trap. There's three main parts of it that we see happening. And do you know what? We don't even need the iPad for this part. There's three main bits that DJs chat to me all the time. First off, the whole gig trap thing, that when I get booked on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, or my fee increases, and we theme all of it around bookings, the problem with bookings is bookings aren't always going to be reliable. You might make 5K a month at the minute. Let's say you make 5. And you might be thinking, okay, when my bookings get to 5K a month, then I can sack my job off. Or when I've made 5K a month every month for 6 months, then I'll sack my job off. But the problem with bookings is they're inconsistent at times. You might have a busy season in the summer. You might have it quiet in the winter. COVID might happen again and there's no gigs for a year. Or maybe your releases drop and the bookings start to dry up or get quiet. There's so many different variables. Your booking agent might get hit by a car. There's so many different variables involved in it that to rely on just bookings alone to replace your income can be tough because they're not always guaranteed. Okay. And that's the first problem, because what we want to think about is, well, how else can we bring consistency to the table? The other problem is number 2, if you become reliable on your gigs, the more reliable you are, the more susceptible you are to gigs that you don't want to play. If I quit my job full time and I'm relying just on gigs, well, now I don't get to pick and choose as much. If I'm having a tight month or I need to make my monthly budget and I'm not quite there, now I start accepting gigs that I wouldn't normally play. Or if I'm not making as much money as I want, I find it harder to turn down a gig booking for 500, 600, 700, even though it's a gig that I just do not want to play and it's not part of it. Or I see a lot of DJs that have to turn to open format and start playing, stuff that's way, way off. And now we're going way far away from the mountain. We're moving way away from the reason we quit and got into music, just because we're struggling to pay the bills. Let me know if anybody here has ever been guilty of that. You've gone in and you've tried to make it in music, but it's been tough. And now you find yourself doing a whole lot of shit that you didn't want to do just to pay the bills. And so they're not reliable. And when they are, you become too reliable on them. The last thing is they become a false hurdle for you. Because when we think about going full-time in music, we begin to think, how am I ever going to get enough consistent bookings to do that? And that's hard to do. That's hard for us to wrap our heads around if we're not playing all the time at the minute, and we're not playing in the clubs or venues that we want to be playing, or getting the kind of money that we're getting, even 1 or 2 or 3 nights a month. How am I going to do it enough to like replace my income and give me, you know, a decent income to breathe? But we don't necessarily need to. There's lots of other ways of making money. And so gigs become a false hurdle when we just focus on. Now, we have to focus on them. They should be the major part of the strategy. But gigs alone is a dangerous strategy. And any of the DJs that you've seen running GoFundMe's during COVID, or struggling, or you know, having to pick up other jobs when they were on big money up until then, that shows you exactly. The people that had labels, or that had online stuff, that had merch, that had other ways of making money, that were fine during COVID. Some of them even made more money. Defected maybe made more money during COVID than they did the year previously, because they did all the virtual festivals and the sponsorship, and they were able to do that. So we want to have other options, okay? We don't want to fall into the gig trap. We absolutely want to smash the gigs. We absolutely want to be booked all the time. This is fully booked, but it can't be our only horse in the race, okay? So the next step onto that, if that is the case, if we're going to go full time in music, you're the business. If anybody's ever told you you're the business, they meant it. You're the business. You run the business. You are the business. You're the one selling the product, but you're also the product. It's this unique thing. Before we go full time, if you're working a day job, you have this unique advantage that you don't realize, in that you've got like fuck you money. Now, in entrepreneurial worlds, they call fuck you money when you have so much money that you can just say fuck you to any opportunity. But when you're a DJ, fuck you money is just if you have your bills covered, if you have a day job, if you have another source of income, you're not reliant on the gig to bring you the money. And so if somebody comes to you with an offer you don't like, a gig you don't like, an opportunity that isn't right for you, you can say, fuck you. You're not relying on it. And so from an artistic perspective, you get to pick the right choices for you as an act, the stuff that you want to do, the stuff that feeds your soul, the stuff that elevates you as an artist online, the stuff that'll feed your socials. You get to pick it. And any of the shit stuff, you can still do it, but you have the power to say no to it. You're not relying on it. Okay? But if you are the business, well, we got to get it right. Here's the beautiful thing. Business in dance music, it's just brand. Whenever you hear people talking about, oh, I'm going to set up a brand, that's a business. That's what we call a business in dance music. You know, your brand is your logo everywhere else, but in dance music, your brand it's everything that we use to make money through our artistry. So we can run through some of those in a minute. But if we're going to set up a brand, can I ask into the chat, who has a brand here? Who actually has a brand? And who doesn't have a brand? Give me a yes or a no into the chat. We got some yeses. Yes, a few. A man after my own heart, Jeep. In the shower, come up with a stupid name, register the domain, find out what to do with it, go and take over the world.
It's more a slogan, and then like reverse engineering. Like what can I name this to push this slogan out?
I love it. I love it. Man after my own heart. Okay. So we got some yeses, we got some nos. Here's the thing. If you're going to go full time in music, it's going to be really hard to do it without a brand. And these days, a brand is so easy to set up. And it's such a weakness for you not to have it. You leave so much money on the table not to have it. Okay. The first thing we want to do when we're setting up a brand, not the first thing, but like there's 3 main elements that we really need to think about. What's the menu? What's on the menu for your brand? There's lots of things you can offer outside of your artistry. And so if we're thinking about, the gig trap, we want to fill our buckets. We want to be booked as many times as we want to be booked in the best clubs, festivals as possible, and we want to tour. Aside from relying on that, we want to make sure that if none of that happens, if COVID happens, if there's a quiet month, whatever, that our bills are still paid. The money is still coming in. And so we want to have the brand for that, and we want to have different levels of activity on that. And so on the menu, let me know into the chat, what could be on the menu for your brand? What could your brand offer? Let me know some things into the chat. Some of the things that I would recommend, I mean, events. Events is the easy one that we all think of, but events is, if we think of income from events, it can easily be, I'm just going to go with the obvious ones first that pop into your head. Events is one of those things that could make you money, but also could lose you just as much money. And you're not really sure which. And at the start, if you're not skilled, if you're not savvy, if you're not clever, like I wasn't when I ran my events back in the day, you'll lose a lot of money. And so it can be a money maker, it can be a money loser. It depends how you do it. You've also got releases. Okay, so that's another one that people think of. But obviously, we think releases don't make any money these days. But they can in some circumstances. I mean, you can make some money off Bandcamp. Will it be a lot of money? Maybe not. But it can be a piece of your pie. And depending on what the budget is that you need to replace, we need to work out what that pie is. So even if it's a small slice of pie, we can still account for it. But you can have your own record label. Jeep, could you just unmute again there and tell us, like when you were at the April Summit, you did a vinyl release for Record Store Day. How many
Sure.
vinyl releases did you sell that week?
So on Record Store Day, I sold upwards of 1,400 vinyl copies because it was associated in an official Record Store Day title,
Yep.
which is like leveraging. So when you're an official Record Store Day title, there is an application process, and they will tell you like, anybody who's interested, feel free to hit me up. I'm happy to talk about it with anybody. But my recommendation is don't pitch anything less than 1,000 units, and it should be something that's like not just a single or a 7-inch, should be an album or, whatever. But that being said, basically I understood how to leverage a release that's officially for Record Store Day to be able to ensure that I'm going to make my money back 100% on this pressing, because 1,500 records cost me in the vicinity of $13,000, which I had to put on my credit card. It's like understanding those moments to be able to leverage, an association, like this is an official Record Store Day title, so stores are it's not compulsory for them to pick it up, but stores are going to pick up like at least one copy, and you have like, whatever, 1,200, 1,500 accounts just in North America that are buying records. So if you think about inner city accounts, your Rough Trade in New York, your Amoebas in the West Coast, who are picking up 20, 30 copies of pretty much every single release, it adds up really quick.
Yeah. So that was a lucrative day, right?
It was indeed.
Yeah, there we go. It was indeed is the answer that I want. And so, look, your music might not be right for vinyl release. G plays a lot of hip hop, but like a lot of dance music still is. There's a lot of pockets of there. It can still be lucrative if it's right for you. And so we can make money from releases in various formats. Okay, merch is the obvious one, but like, it's one of those ones we talk about a lot, but it makes money. A release on Beatport, you might get a couple of cents. You sell a decent sweatshirt, you can sell it for £65, $70. Those add up really quickly. You don't need to sell a lot of units to make decent money if you do it right, okay? You've got label revenue. That's completely different. I mean, let's say the sample packs that some of the people in the program are selling they're making a full-time income on their own. I'm not going to name any names, but I know of people in the program that are making close to 5 figures a month just selling their sample packs. And like that's a full-time income on its own. And it's just run the ads, sell the sample packs, it's all automated. You just keep on top of the ads. Now that's making it sound easy. You got to tweak it to get there, but there are good ways of making money with your label. We talked about arts grants a couple of weeks ago. Every country, if you Google your arts council, Google arts grants in your country, they're giving arts grants. In the UK, most of you can get a £10,000 art grant just to improve yourself, develop your creative practice. More if you're doing something more impressive. Sponsorship. If you're running events, if you're doing cool stuff, if you're building an audience, sponsors only care about audience. That's all they care about. If you can give them a decent audience, sponsorship money is great. And I pulled this one out at the summit, and there was one of the guys in the program that had got, I think, 6 figures off a sponsor for one of his events. the week before, so it was perfect timing. Fan subs. We have some people, Johnny said it earlier on, he wanted to set up a Patreon for his fans. I know lots of DJs that are doing Patreons or similar to their fans. They're running, their YouTube mixes. They're doing all of the stuff that we talk about in the program, but then pushing their Patreon link or their fan subscription link in there. Like if you have 100 people, just 100 at like £7 a month, that's 700 quid a month. And you can easily ramp it up from there. So will it be the full pie? Probably not. Could it be a decent part of the pie? Absolutely. Remixes and production. We got a couple of people that I know of in the program that are doing this. If you're getting invited by labels to do remixes or you're doing production for other artists, syncing your tracks, that's decent money if you get a track sync. There's loads, there's teaching. I'm going to put corporate gigs in this bracket because I don't think of that as your touring. I don't think of that as you as an artist playing. I think of it as, a money-making thing. But there's so many corporates that want just dance music, good dance music, like the proper music that you play. They don't want cheesy stuff. They want credible music, depending on the corporation. Those are the best paid gigs. You get some great money from those. And so there's a lot of credible touring artists that are also playing corporate gigs for cool brands midweek. You're not seeing it on their socials, but they're getting paid well for it, okay? Now, half of that won't apply to you. 80% of it won't apply to you. Maybe there's just 1 or 2 or 3 things that you like the look of. That's what you need to decide. What would be on your menu? Can I ask into the chat before we go on? What would be on your menu? Quickly. What do you like the look of? What do you think is the most likely for you? I don't want you to... We're thinking about, if you were to do this, where do you think 1, 2, 3, 4 years, where do you think you'd like to do? Would you like to have your own label? Would you like to have the merch on it? Do you think arts grants is something that you could go for? I'll let you type into the chat, and I'm gonna push on. Then what we want to do is we want to build out our pie. We want to figure out what is the slice of it. And so, like, Ian says, merch, sponsorship, maybe arts grants, and corporate gigs. And that's aside from the bookings. So let's say we're gonna make bookings 50%, because like I really do think it's the indicator to everything else, and it makes great cash. So let's say bookings is half the pie. Let's say you think merch, you're going to give whatever that percentage is, maybe arts grant, you're going to just give it a little bit of your time once off. Because think about it, like if you make 30 grand a year, if you're somebody that makes 30 grand a year and you can get the Arts Council to give you 10 for a project that you're going to work on, that's immediately making, you can do that every year. That's immediately making this a little bit easier to do. So we want to figure out what is it that you're going to do and how much time are we going to allocate it. Merch, sponsorships, label merch, sponsorships, fan subs. Okay, nice. It doesn't really matter right now, but I just want to test the water and see what you're feeling, okay? So then the third part of it, we got menu, we got pie. If you're going to do your brand, you cannot do it without audience. You need to understand that. We have the Atomic promo in there, and we'll have new audience training coming up. But if you're going to do the brand, it's those 3. What's on your menu? What are you going to offer? How much time are you going to allocate each thing? And then what audience are you putting behind? Because none of it works without the right audience. We have strategies for you to grow your own audience, whether that's email, whether that's the social platforms, or to piggyback on other people's audiences, which we can just do straight away via the radio syndication, or syndicating your social content to the other big social pages. We've got a list of them in the program that you can contact straight away, and you'll find loads of them using the systems that we taught. If you can get if you're a house act and you can get some of the big house pages sharing your stuff on a weekly or monthly basis, that's going to feed straight back in, and it's immediate audience. You don't need to grow it. It's already out there. You just need to utilize theirs. Okay? If you've got your business set up, the thing that I see a lot of people failing on is this. When you go full-time in music, you need to be a partnership farmer. All of your career will be based around partnerships. During COVID, the people that continued to make money were the connected people. They had people they could rely on. They had people they could do business with. They had people they could cooperate with. And I know you know this because we build hit lists. What's the way that we get you booked? with clubs, festivals, promoters that you've never met before. Well, we take our time, get you to build the hit list. Who are the people that are booking acts just like you? Get them on a spreadsheet, and that's it. We're going to work those people for the next 6 months, the next 12 months, the next 2 years. They're not getting off that spreadsheet until they book us or tell us to never email them again. And every time we reach out, we're going to show them that we really do want to play their venue. We weren't messing. We're going to show them the respect of following up and saying, hey, you know, when I reached out last, I wasn't just mailing every promoter. I genuinely do want to play your venue. And I'll follow up again in 6 months. And I do. And I'll follow up again in 6 months. And I do. And I show them more respect each time by following up. Quite often, I think DJs feel like they're being annoying or disrespecting by continuing to follow up. You're not. You're doing the opposite. Somebody that mails once and gets a no and then never mails again, I think that's disrespect because you didn't really want to play the venue, did you? You gave up that easy. And so you're showing them the respect of following up. But we want to do that for everything that we work with, okay? It's not just, when we think about the hit list, we want a hit list for everything. I have everything we do in business, we have a hit list. So you need connections, okay? So it's all about having a hit list and then having a magnet. Because as I've taught you over and over again, yes, you can have a list of people that you want to work with, but they also need to have a reason to want to work with you. Like we did with the cheese, when we reach out to promoters, we want to have something to give them. We bring them the radio shows, we bring them our audience, we bring them opportunities, and they look at us completely different. But we want to have that for everything, kind of, but not mandatory. Okay, perfect. Does anyone else feel like they have to be a producer to be a book DJ these days? No, Ryan, there's loads of people in here that are booking gigs and have never released. I had Alexia here, Queens, at the weekend. She booked a 42-date tour, and then she did it again all around Oz, and we're planning our Australian tour, we're planning our American tour, and she has no releases yet because she's leveraging her relationships. So for the hit lists, we always talk about our promoter hit list. But does anybody else in here have any other hit lists? Let me know into the chat. Anybody else here have any other hit lists? Because we should. If we want to release with labels, should we not have a hit list of labels that we're chatting to, that we're connected with on socials, that we're commenting on LinkedIn, that we're making the effort to go and greet at Brighton Music Conference or ADE? If we want to get sponsorship, do we have labels or brands that we're seeing sponsor labels that I like, stages that I've seen at music festivals? You know, maybe they're not ready to work with you now, but we want to have the list. We want to have them in our world. We want to be following them on socials. We want to know what they're about so that when we need them in 12 months or 24 months or whatever it may be, we've already been in their world for a while and it's not cold. Okay? So we want to have hit lists and magnets. Everything in this game is connections. And so I really need you to leverage on that. This is why with the magnets, we do the radio shows, isn't it? Because yes, the radio shows get us in with promoters. They break the ice there. But more useful, they give us the opportunity to invite other guests. If I can be one of the, let's say I'm Soulful House or Tech House. If I'm one of the rising stars in Tech House, or I want to be, what better way for me to get in the mix than invite all the other rising stars of Tech House onto my radio show? And each week for me to showcase one of the rising stars of Tech House on my radio show and have them sharing my artwork on their socials and have me being able to host them on my socials. Like you look at Kinda Music this year, Kinda Music, how much have Kinda Music blown up this year or last year? They're just ridiculous. And like since 2016, I've been following their Kinda Music radio show on SoundCloud, and that's exactly what it is. 1 week, Ramphal will do it. 1 week, Adam Port will do it. 1 week, Anne Me will do it. And then 8 to 10 of the weeks, it's other guests. It's other people. It's their peers. It's the people they're competing with for slots on the lineups. But they're pulled into Kinda Music's world. And that's what we want for you. We want other peers to be pulled into your world. Labels. Whatever way we can pull people in and have them working with us, collabing with us, around our stuff, the better. I'm going to pause actually. What's been most useful so far? Let me know in the chat. What's been most useful so far? I'm still waiting for the day somebody types in nothing. People type in everything all the time, but I just want one cheeky bastard to type nothing. That'd be me, to be fair. Like for anybody that's already full-time, I want you to think of what are the bits that you're missing? Because when you're full-time, you get caught up in, you know, trying to make money this month or trying to get the bookings rolling, that we neglect other bits. What's the bits that we're neglecting? Partnership. Yes, Alexi. Honestly, partnership is the biggest one because I've said it a million times on these calls now, but if I could have a Beatport #1 tomorrow, like an actual Beatport #1 overall tomorrow, and have it sit at Beatport #1 for a week, or if I could just be friends with 100 people tomorrow that booked festivals and events that played my kind of music, which do you think is going to get me more bookings? The friends all day, every day. If I have 100 friends that run festival, I'm never not playing again. Would anything about me as an artist have changed? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just the connections. And I'll have those connections for life if they're friends. And so it's the most valuable thing. That's why we do the hit list. That's why we give the hit list such focus, because it's where your career is. The next thing we want to do is plant your budget. I don't say plan your budget, because whenever I sit down with acts and do this, and I'm like, okay, if we're going to get you to go full time, here's what we have to do. We've got to work out, A, what are you earning now? You know, that's the side of it. Like if we look at it like a seesaw, you know, it's what are you earning now that you need to replace? Because really, going full time in music is just the only really thing that matters is, can I replace that? Because if you're replacing your income and you've got money coming in every single month from whether it's sample packs or whether it's fan subscriptions or whether you've got merch selling or whether you're making money from Bandcamp or what or some money for gigs, and you have a quiet month, you don't really mind if you only played one show that month. You play 10 the next month, but you're not saying that month, oh no, this was awful, because you're covered. You got your costs covered. But if you haven't got your costs covered and you only play that one gig, you panic and life becomes horrible. So we got to figure out, what are we earning now? And what do we need to earn to go full time? And then really, we got to work out, what does the budget look like? What do we think that we can make? You know, if I need to make 3K, well then, do I think I can make, let's say, 2K a month off bookings? Do I think I can make 1K a month on merch? We want to set targets. And the reason I call it planting your budget is because you might look at that and go, well, I've never sold any merch. So what makes me think I can sell 1K a month? We've got to set a sales target. Any sales office you go into, at the start of the week, they'll give you your target for the week. If you didn't have the target for the week, how do you know what to aim for? And so we want to set a target that we think that we can reasonably hit. Anybody can sell 1K of merch in a month. Anybody can. If you set it up right, you don't need a big brand. You just need some nice looking designs and a decent marketing strategy. Anyone can sell that. Anyone can sell that in a day. Trust me, it's easy. Merch is easy to sell when you set it up right. And I know I've done 7 figures through a Shopify store selling dance music merch, specifically dance music merch. Okay, so we want to figure out what the budget is. Once we kind of figure out where we think we're going to make our pot, let me back into the slides. We want to build and switch. You do not need to quit your job and go full-time in music. Like you'll have all seen these. There's 3 types of people that go full-time in music. There is the very common one that we've all seen, which is the burn the boats. I think you'll know the type of person I'm talking about. Maybe you've been that person. It's the person that says, I'm going full-time in music, and you know what? Fuck it. I'm going into work this week and I'm quitting. I'm going to go for it. And they just quit their job with no backup plan, no money, and they just try and make it. And everything is hard to do because you got no money. And you put so much pressure on yourself for it to work that you just box yourself in. Let me know into the chat. Have you done it? Have you seen it? Carol, you were guilty of that. And look, more power to you. It's what I did. I burned the boats. I went to Ibiza the first time and I came back on the Monday and I quit my job. And I burned the boats, but I was broke for 5 years after. Like, there's no way around it. The second type, and really this is what I'm recommending everybody does, is replace and decide. If you are making, and let's use 3K a month as a figure, I think you should always try and make 3K a month in your music business. Not specifically from bookings. Bookings can supplement it, but I think you should try and make 3K a month in your music business and have 3K a month from your salary, 3K a month from your music business, or 5K a month from your salary, 5K a month from your music business. Your music income should be the same as your normal income. And then you can decide. You can say, do I want to go full time and quit my job and go back down to 5K a month and just work in music? Or do I want to keep both incomes? But you get to decide. Need to know music business as streams. Can you clarify? Is that a question or is that? Because I can help you with that if you need. Let me know into the chat. Which one do you think you would be if you're going to go full time? Which one would you need to be? Would you burn the boats? Replace and decide. It's the smart one. Now, here's the thing. I don't know who needs to hear this, but like really any normal income, you know, up to 6 figures, you can replace with a fairly mediocre brand, like a brand that isn't well known, but just does the right things strategically. Like if you have some decent marketing plans, you're running some ads, you've got a couple of bits set up with a label that nobody has ever heard of, you can do 6 figures. You know, there's people in here that I've helped do that. I'm not going to call you out, but like where you know it's achievable. And so I want you to understand that because some of the frustrations we have around going full-time in music, when I was sitting looking at it earlier on, like people want to be full-time, but right now you're struggling to have consistent gigs. And so if you're struggling to have consistent gigs, how are you ever going to go full-time? You want your music to be your life, but your life is expensive. Quite often it seems out of reach because only the 1% make it, you know? 99% of DJs that try end up not getting there, and you see 1% that do great. But I mean, 99% of people who try to be postmen, or 100% of people who try to be postmen, you know, they're postmen. You just get there, you know? Barber, like you name most professions, and most people that try and do it will do it to some level. But DJing full-time as a profession, being an artist or being in music full-time as a profession, it's weird because it's like a 1% thing, you know, and maybe 1% is the wrong figure, but the sentiment is definitely true. And I don't want that for you. And maybe you're already doing it, but maybe it's a struggle. So what we want is I want you to spend your days working in music and not worry that it's all going to fall to shit. Know that the costs are paid for. Know if you've got a kids or a wife, Lex looking at you, you just typed in there too many responsibility these days. I mean, that's it exactly, isn't it? And you're going to have more. There's more bills coming down the road. They're not going to get cheaper. So we want to know if we're going to do music full time that, you know, you can get it in and not worry. Life costs are covered and there's room to grow. Instead of having a 1% chance to work, we want it to be a 99% chance. And that's the important thing. I know any of you can have a 99% chance because nothing's guaranteed, that if you just set it up right, you can make enough to make a decent income, 6 figures. If you build your revenue streams right, pay attention to it and get it done. Okay. So do we have time to hop into some worksheets? Yeah, we've got a couple of minutes to hop in here. Okay. So what I want you to do really quickly, get your thinking hats on. We don't have a whole lot of time here, but I'm going to put let's say, let's do 30 seconds on the clock. What I want you to decide, if you're going full-time or if you're not going full-time, it doesn't matter. You're going for bookings. You're in fully booked. If you're not trying to be fully booked, fuck me, you're in the wrong place. So really quickly, if you got a pen and paper or you got somewhere to take some notes, I'm going to put 30 seconds on the clock. Here's what I want you to figure out. If we're going for bookings, let's hone it back in again. Where do we need to be focusing for bookings in order to go full-time? If you're in the UK, are you just focusing on the UK? Are you also going to maybe look at Ireland? Are you looking at Ibiza? Like Christian, you're on the call. When we came over, you're in Chile, but you also travel to LA for business on a regular basis. You come to Ibiza once a year. So we need hit lists for LA. We need hit lists for Chile. We need a hit list for Ibiza because those three make sense. For you in your life, where do you travel to? Where's easy for you to get to? Where is your music most prominent? Where do you need your hit lists to be physically? Okay. 30 seconds on the clock. Take some notes. Even type it into the chat if you want. That would be decent. I'm going to keep 30 imaginary seconds on the clock because Zoom has updated. I don't know if anybody else has updated their Zoom. It looks completely different. It looks snazzy. I like it. View. Overlays. There we go. I'll get it lined up for the next one. Type into the chat if you can, if you've got where you think you need your hit list. Because we can't do anything without our bookings. We don't want to fall into the gig trap, but we also don't want no gigs. Okay, got that working. Germany, Switzerland, Austria. No, you don't need to complete the blocks, Kirill. We're going to read them one by one. The bookings one, you should already know. If you're here on day one, this is a nice thing for you to go through. If you're here a while, you should know this. Okay. So for the business side of it, we ran through some items on the menu. 30 seconds on the clock. What is it that you would like to do on the business side? You don't need to execute it right now, but you do need the plan. You do need to understand, okay, I think that makes sense for me as an artist, as a person. I think that makes sense. I think I want to do merch. Maybe not now, but that's definitely on the cards. The label, that's definitely on the cards. Or arts grants. And hey, please, anybody that wants to do an arts grant, just type in Arts Council and your country. Look at the next one that's open. Look at their guidance and just put it in. Put it in now. You're all up to stuff now. You can all go for arts grants now. Label. There we go. Sample packs. Sample packs, if you're producing, great way to make it. Was that 30 seconds already? No, it wasn't. Okay, time. I'm going to move on. Partnerships. This one is really important because I get you to build hit lists all the time. So we've got we think about promoters. We want to have connections with promoters. We want to know all of the promoters in all of these places that we just discussed. We want to be able to reach out. We want to be able to collab. We want to be able to do stuff over the next couple of years. But what are the other partnerships that you're going to need, future you is going to need in 6 months, in a year's time, in 2 years' time, that you should be nurturing now that are going to take you no time? Let me know into the chat. Let's make a list. I'm going to put 60 seconds. I'm going to read out some prompts in case you're not sure. Like when we look at the things on our menu, if we want to be doing releases, well, we need to have a hit list of labels that we want to work with, right? If we want to be doing merch, we maybe don't need a hit list for that unless we're going to collab. If we're doing label revenue, who are the artists that we think maybe are on the up that possibly might come onto our label? Who are some of the people we could get involved? The Broder guys, they hired like the Italo brothers to remix their first release on their label to give it immediate credibility. Who are the people that might be like that you might want to get involved in your label to give it that instant credibility? Arts grants, that's an easy one. Who are the arts grants? Like who are the people working for the arts grants companies? If you're in England, there's a number of different places giving out arts grants. If you Google it for your country, you'll see there's 2 or 3 places in most big countries that do arts grants. You know, there'll be the main government, there'll be your local government or council, there'll be some like licensing bodies. Who are the people that are running those bodies? You should be following them on LinkedIn. You should be following them on Instagram. You should be seeing what they're saying. They've got the keys to funds for you. Like for syncing, who are the agencies that do syncing? Like if you've got productions that are going out, companies will give you thousands to sync them to Netflix shows, to movies, to various things. Are you connected with them? Are you getting their emails? Are you in their world at all? And so we want to see what are the things that we want on our menu, and we want partnerships lists for each of them. And a lot of the time, it doesn't go any deeper than just add them all on LinkedIn, add them all on Instagram, add them all on Twitter or X or Threads. And when they post something, comment, like it, share. Everybody reads their comments. They see your name. You can build rapport as simply as that. We don't need to go to the reach out phase, which we'll do when the time comes right. The next thing we need to do, the final thing we need to do, if we have an understanding of where we want to have our bookings, if we have an understanding of the different things we're going to offer on our menu and our list of partnerships that we kind of need to lean on, what's the budget that you need to replace to make it happen? I don't want you to type this into the chat because that's just for you. What's the number that you need to make in order to consider going full-time? Now, some of you have mortgage, kids, wife, businesses, big bills. And so the thought of even going full-time, maybe it's not even on your radar. But what's the number you would have to get to consider it? Just give me got it into the chat if you've got the number. Budget is skewed massively due to my crippling cocaine and hooker addiction. Yes, that will ruin any budget. Thank you for sharing. I love it when your clients feel open enough to share their true selves. The minute we seen that, like I did say your studio looks like, does look kind of like a brothel. The red paint and the dark lighting. Okay, we all got it. Okay. So like really quickly, I want you to just think through this. You don't need to share this in the chat, but this is the thinking that you need to do. If you know what that budget is, well, what are your budget buckets? What are the places that you think you could make that money? And the only purpose of this, the only usefulness of this is for you to actually break it down and see how achievable it actually is to do. Because let's say if my bucket 2 is merch, okay? And I know that I can sell a sweatshirt for 65, which you can with dance music merch. That's completely reasonable these days if you're doing short runs. And I think I can make like, let's say 50 quid profit. You won't make that much, but let's say I know I can make 50 quid profit. I know that if I can sell like just 20 items a month, then that's 1,000. And I think I can do that. So that's my first budget bucket. If I think I can get like a 500 DJ fee and I can get 2 gigs a week, Friday and Saturday, well, now I know I'm able to get 1,000 a week, which will be, 4 to 5K a month. Now I just got to work back and build out my plan for that. Build out my hit list, have the conversations, see is it workable. We just want to do that for all of our buckets. If we do that for 4 buckets and pick 4 bets that we think are reasonable, if I have a sample pack, like I think the guys that are in the program are selling sample packs for, I'm keeping it in sterling for easy maths, like 35 quid. But Shopify is just ringing all day. So if I sell 10 of them a week, that's 350 a week. If I sell 20, that's 700. Your maths will be different, but I just want you to go through this process of kind of the things that we've said that you might want to do. I just want you to sit down and work out, okay, what do I actually think I'm worth as a DJ? What do I think I can get? How many gigs do I think I can get? What does that work out at? And total it all up together. How do I sell merch if I'm not a brand? So you can sell merch as your artist brand, absolutely. I mean, I worked with Claptone on their store, and they do it just as their artists side. There's lots of artists that sell merch just on their artist page, and it doesn't necessarily need to be your name on it, because you as an artist represent a number of things, like your music, your vibe, what is it that you represent? You know, there was a guy that's on the program, he's called Ian G, and we were talking, he wanted to do his merch as his artist brand. And it is a little bit tougher to do, but we were running through it. He's more on that like classic house vibe. So it's an older crowd and they're all into house music. And so like what I was saying to him was, you know, he's got a nice logo. It can be branded E&G clothing, but for instance, when you look at Defected, you can see, you know, some of those memes that Defected share or those quote posts, people who show you new music are important. Houses of feeling, stuff like that. That on a t-shirt with his branding, that would sell perfectly to his audience because they're buying a shared feeling, you know, they're buying a shared idea. That's what merch should be. It shouldn't be E&G, you know, because nobody wants to buy his merch when he doesn't have that big of a fan base, but they will buy the vibe, they will buy the feeling, they will buy the culture. And so as an artist, your merch store can be profitable whilst being a marketing channel for you if you do it cleverly. But ideally, if you did it as your brand, you can just level up a lot quicker. But I'm gonna be twisting you around to set up a brand. I know you just joined us this week, but I can't sell my music $16, but the merch especially. Yeah, 100%, 100%. Okay, guys. So I just wanted to kind of run through this session today. This was a high level session. We're not really getting into the nuts and bolts of it and running through it. We do that on other sessions. But before we start running through the new training, where I really am going to be leaning on you to not just book more gigs, not just go bigger and try and push more, like bigger festival shows and international shows, but also I want to see is earning income, because I've got some clients here in the program that are sharing with me on WhatsApp their income figures and what they're making, and it's a beautiful feeling. And I want that for everybody in here to start replacing their income, adding on those extra bits, as well as smashing the gigs. But before we do that, I want you to just think about it and what's possible for you. Will you let me know? Let's wrap this call. Let me know what's been most useful overall. What was it that you, not even what's most useful, what did you bond with most? What seemed most interesting to you? By the way, Alex, I'll reply to your WhatsApp after the call, not to forget you. The music syncs, however, I do not know what it is. We'll do some training on that, Ryan, but in the meantime, just Google music sync service. Music sync. If there's anybody here in the program that knows any of the decent platforms that is doing music syncing, could you drop it into the community for Ryan, please? Knowing that I can make music a business as well as a pleasure. Yeah, 100%. How to make great new ways of income, working on the budget, review the strategies was a good idea. Defo have some brainstorm. Okay, nice. Guys, so I'll be sending out an email tomorrow morning regarding the upcoming A&R sessions. We will be, let me switch to the better camera. That camera's getting awful this time of night. We'll be sending you some of the stuff about the new program modules that start tripping on Monday. So we've got all of the cool new stuff happening. We said we were going to have some booking agents, some managers and that kind of thing starting to join us. So the very first one will be Cal Juguru, who had joined us before. He's a booking agent with Creative Artists Agency, biggest booking agency in the world. He is Hannah Lang's booking agent. He does Christoph, does a couple of other guys. He's going to be joining us over the next week or so as well. So I'll send you all the details on that. In the meantime, can we get everybody just to unmute and give each other some love for the rest of the week? Give each other some props, some motivation, please.
Cheers, everyone.
Fucking let's get it, guys.
Thank you.
Let's do this.
Might as well, guys.
Let's do
Y'all are
this.
fucking champions, yo.
Go.
I'll see you all in the Bahamas.
Yeah,
I'm gonna. I think I could do a mix. Before I thought I was gonna sample those, but I think I'll probably do a 60-minute mix at this stage of these every week. All right, guys. I'll speak to you in the morning. Expect my email. It's been good hanging out. Have a lovely evening. I'll see you soon. All right.
Cheers. Thank you, Mikey.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Yo.
Thanks, Mikey.